There are some months that just don't remind us of history. And for me, the month of Muharram is one of them. Because growing up, when I ever considered the fact that Muharram was a month of like remembrance, I didn't really understood it what it was. But this year, something different happened, and I really learned what Muharram really matters and what it really is. And for me, it wasn't something from books or like lectures or like history, but it was the life itself. Because what I really understood was that a few days ago, when I was talking with my parents, I get to know more about my grandfather, my parental grandfather, who had an accident on 9th Muharram and he lost his breath that day. The day when one of the most prestigious and religious figures of Islam also lost their lives. It was a sacrificial moment. And also, yesterday, when I happened to know that one of my friend lost her mother on the 10th Muharram, which is also the second most prestigious day, I get to know that life is not something about just sacrifice or pain. It reminds me that someday a most uncomfortable thing is going to happen with you, and it will be just a simple phone call, a diagnose, or a rush towards hospitals, a broken car. It can be anything because the most uncertain is our life, and it's the constant uncertainty that always comes, and we cannot neglect it but accept it. And on one ordinary day will come when everything will change. All the entire life that we ever lived, all the entire life that we ever imagined is gonna be changed forever. But there's also a point, also understanding that whenever we hear the word sacrifice or like suffering or for example losing something, we always somehow determine that it is always about the pain, it's always about making us broken. But the thing is, which we often neglect to realize, that every achievement that's gonna happen in our life, whatever it is, it's always gonna come with a price. It can be our pride, it can be our money, it can be our time, it can be our, you can say, houses or anything. Oftentimes, it also became people whom we love, with whom we grew up, whom with we imagine the most prestigious figures of our lives, the ones we often care about the most. They are also the ones who can be sacrificed. And I'm not here to weep a tear or two with you guys. I have, I've done them, I also do them. But crying or like weeping or like having those pain is not something that basically you can say kind of breaks us. It is a hard moment, and I know that. But Sacrifice is not a proof that life is against you. Life is never against you. It's always just a proof that life is preparing you for something. And to be there, to basically experience that, you have to grow up enough in your life that you have to understood it. For example, however I have determined my life and understood it, I believe if a certain moment is happen to occur in my life and I'm not prepared for it, it is similar to the concept that if I took a fourth grader or a fifth grader student and I tried to explain him what does Aristotle really meant about sacrifices or about love of life or like meaning of life, he's never gonna understood it because a fifth grader haven't really understood what philosophy is. But if a person who has lived a life for like 30 or 35 or like 40 years, they can define or relate with the philosophy of Aristotle. And that's what actually life is. In order to understand something more greater, something more meaningful, first you have to experience such things that prepare you for that. It's more kind of examination, you can say. So the thing is, whenever a suffering is gonna come, whenever a sacrifice is gonna come, because at the end it will, and we can't neglect that fact. The real question is not to ask why did it happen to me, but the real question that really matters is that what does this left me with to make myself much better or like learn from it. Because what I've really got a core concept from life in the age of 21 is that a small word is spoken in front of you. It also defines and teaches you a lesson. You just can't simply ignore it. If you want, you can, but it doesn't mean it wasn't really meaningful. Everything is meaningful. And if we really, you can say, micro scale it to the tiny bits of every breath that we took in our a single day, it defines a meaning. Life is about identifying those meanings and to learn it, to live it. It's not just something you can just ignore it or neglect it. So the one thing that I learned the most from a sacrifice is that it is not the end of the story, but it's more kind of a chapter that you are about to start. It's more about like a new explanation, but more about an exploration of a life that you are about to start. Because either a pain is gonna break you, or either it's gonna make you. It's simply to the concept that the people that we lose left us lessons. The dreams that broke leave us, you can say, wisdom. But also the hardships that we suffer leaves the strength. And that's what we have to take. Because eventually, every time, life's gonna push you hard. But you have to realize that it is just making you better, making you prepared for something more greater than you can even imagine. Because at the end of the day, we are just humans with tiny bit of brains to just think like a day or two in the future. But the one who created all this entire system, the God, the Allah, whatever you say in your language, defines the entire universe before we were even born and the afterlife that we are gonna live. Everything is predefined. It is just upon us who we choose to be, who we really want us to be. And I hope this is something gonna show you in more greater way.